I was diagnosed with cancer in December of 2021. I am taking treatment, and because it is rough on my body, I keep asking myself, why me? I get so frustrated, even though I have a very supportive family. How can I find peace? Well, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your diagnosis. The first piece I think that's really critical to realize is it's not your fault. You know, we're in a very interesting time these days with science showing us the power of the mind. Right? We now have all of these incredible scientific machines, testing ability to test energy, ability to be able to see what's happening on the most basic levels of brain waves, of brain chemistry, of body chemistry, of immune system, of thought, of energetic patterns. And that's given us a lot of beautiful power. We now know that what we think, what we believe, has a huge impact on our world. That we are literally, through our thoughts, co-creating our world. And it's incredibly powerful. The shadow side of that is when things happen that we would like not to have happened, a cancer diagnosis, a house that burns down, or any one of the other myriad things that could happen that we didn't want to happen. It's become really easy to feel like I somehow made this happen. And if you find yourself living in a kind of new age world where the West has sort of co-opted some of Eastern thought, but without necessarily the full depth of it, you may find yourself surrounded by people who say things like, well, you've made this happen. Your thought pattern has created your cancer. And that's just not true. And so it's really critical to realize that yes, we've got this incredible power from our minds to create our world. And our minds are not single-handedly creating our world. My favorite example of this is if you walk off of the rooftop, no matter what mantra you chant, no matter how spiritual you may be, no matter how deeply you may believe that you have wings, you are going to crash to the ground because you can't outthink gravity. As far as laws of energy go, gravity trumps thought. Now, that doesn't mean that thought isn't powerful. It's incredibly powerful. And there are things that happen in our world that are not because we have made them happen with our thoughts, or that somehow we've done something bad and we are being punished. So the first piece is, this is not your fault. The second piece, though, is you've got a lot of power actually to change your situation. It may be written in your karmic journey that you're actually going to change the workings of your immune system and that you're going to become cancer-free. Or it may be written in your karmic journey that what you're going to change is your lack of peace with this diagnosis. And that the diagnosis will stay, but that you're going to be able to find a peace, a freedom in it, such that your world changes, even though your physical body may not. The best case scenario of a terminal illness is not always to cure it. That implies that our sole purpose of being alive on earth is to be able to string together as many days as we possibly can before we die. In that model, regardless of what you do, achieve, experience, serve, the success of your life is to be measured by the sum total of days you have been able to squeeze out life. But that's not what a successful life is. It's not about the days in the life, but about the life in the days, right? And so we certainly know people who are quite old, but you think, you know what, if I had to die today or change places with that person, I'd rather die today in my life than be 90, 95, 100, but in that person's life. And so the question always to ask ourselves is, how can I, in this situation, whether it's a cancer diagnosis, whether it's having simply failed an exam or gotten fired from your job, or getting left by a spouse or a beloved, or having an accident that, God forbid, handicaps you. The question in every circumstance of life, and by the way, not only the negative ones, the positive ones as well. We get a raise, we get a promotion, we are a huge success, we get married, we get the job. In every circumstance, the question to ask ourselves is, what am I supposed to learn here? What's the lesson? Because karma is not a system of rewards and punishments. It's not, you've been good, so you are rich and successful. You're poor, so you must have been bad and the universe is punishing you. It's not that. The karmic cycle works to give us exactly what we need in order to take our next step closer to our awareness. And for some, the next step may come in abundance and success and financial prosperity. For some, it may come in a whole other situation. But the question is always the same. What am I supposed to learn here? What's the teaching? Why has the universe given me this situation? And so to our beloved family member who sent in this question, the way to find peace is to realize that your job here is not about how many days of life you can string together, because that's really stressful. I mean, when you've got a diagnosis that is fatal, I mean, life is a fatal diagnosis. So anything beyond that, I mean, as we are alive, it's a fatal diagnosis. We're all dying. Every one of us. Every one of us has a terminal disease. It's called life. It's going to end in death. So whether on top of that you also have another disease that could end in death, could end in remission, and then you die of something else, either way, we've all got a terminal illness. or a terminal opportunity called life. And so it's very stressful if we think that what we're supposed to do is manage to somehow avoid the very nature of life, which is death. I mean, that's really stressful. We're not supposed to age. We're not supposed to get gray hair. We're not supposed to get wrinkled. Right? I mean, aging has become a failure. Forget even terminal illnesses. Anti-aging is like the thing. Right? As though somehow, if you don't look 10 or 20 years younger than you are, you're a failure. Right? You've let yourself go somehow. Thou shalt not have gray hair at any cost. Thou shalt not have wrinkles at any cost, right? And if you have them, it means that you just don't have the means to take care of them. Or that you don't have access to, someone who could guide you on how to take care of these problems. And so it's stressful. So instead of thinking about how can I string together more days, think about how can every moment that I have be one that I utilize to get close to God. Because even with a cancer diagnosis, you may very well die being hit by a car long before the cancer kills you. I mean, not to be morbid, but every time we get in a car, it's a serious possibility. Or you may recover completely and die of something else. I don't know. But neither do you. And all we know is what you've got is this minute. You've got today. And use today not to prevent tomorrow, but to be as full as you possibly can. Can you experience the presence of God in you today, right here, right now? Because that's going to stay with you. The body eventually will drop. But that which you actually experience stays with you. When we go from lifetime to lifetime, along with the soul, the subtle body goes. Man, buddhi, ahankar travels with us. My knowledge, math problems, equations that I memorize, they don't go with me. That actually gets filed in the very neurons of my brain. That's not man, it's brain. The brain chemistry learns how to remember that. But the impressions, the sanskaras, wisdom, experience, that becomes an impression upon man, which actually stays with us. It's the nature of our mind. So use these days. Whether this body stays with you or not, the mind will stay with you. So use this time to get that mind to be the best friend that you would want to travel from this life into the next life. Whether it's 6 months from now or 60 years from now. Use this time to find that truth, to experience it.